Before we get started, this video is sponsored by Squarespace, and I would just like to say thank you guys so much. You guys are actually the reason we're able to buy the parts for this video. So again, thank you. All of this is a gaming and editing computer that normally costs $1,000, but we only had to pay $535. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how to do the same thing. And quick plug, I am streaming a little bit more often on Twitch now. We do giveaways and punishment games. So if you guys want to stop by and check it out, it's a lot of fun. I'll leave a link in the description. All right, so I always get questions of people asking how can they get the best performance out of their computer when they're on a budget. So this is a list of parts that I believe are the best value for someone who is willing to put in just a little bit of work. I'll be explaining what each part is, why I got it, how I got it, and for how much, and how you can get it. So without further ado, let's get into the parts. This is a Ryzen 7 1700X, which normally retails for $200. This is an 8-core processor, which is way more than a hardcore gamer or even a professional editor would ever really need. It can handle streaming, gaming, and content creation pretty easily. I got this because it was on sale for a great price, which I will share in a little bit. Now, why should you look to buy this? This specific CPU is actually one of the first processors that AMD released for the Ryzen series. These 1000 series chips go on sale quite often. These processors are still amazing, so why do they go on sale for so cheap? Well, AMD and Intel actually put out more processors than they used to, like, say 5 years ago. What I'm trying to say is that consumers aren't looking at these older processors anymore. All the hype and demand is for the newer stuff, even though the performance you can get out of these things for anything that you're gonna be doing on them is more than enough. I got this through a Black Friday sale paired with a motherboard for only $150, which means theoretically I only paid $75 for this thing, which is less than 50% of its retail cost. Now for you, you're gonna be able to find this thing or other AM4 Ryzen 1000 series processors like it on sale often enough on the Build a PC Sales subreddit. Now this is an AMD Wraith CPU cooler, which normally retails for $15. This is your standard Ryzen CPU cooler. I got it because it's an inexpensive option, it's really easy to install, and if you don't plan on doing hours upon hours upon hours of gaming or content creation, I'm talking like 6, 7, 8 hours at a time, this will be more than enough. And a small side note, some of the Ryzen processors actually come with a cooler already in the box. So if you want to tell if you're going to get one of those, check to see if the processor comes in a square package, then you know that you're already gonna get one of these and you don't have to buy one separately. I actually got this on Amazon for its retail price of $15, and if you're looking to get this, I suggest you do the same. Next we have our motherboard, which is an AX370 Gaming, which normally retails for $100. The reason we have this specific motherboard, like I touched on before, is because it came with the bundle.
Spare change.
Since that bundle isn't going on right now, I would just recommend that you get any 300 series AM4 motherboard that looks the way you want it to, that fits in your budget. Newegg.com or the Build a PC Sales subreddit that I talked on before would be good places to start looking. It should be pretty easy for you to find a motherboard like this for well under the retail price of $100. Now the graphics card we went for is the Zotac GTX 1060, the 6GB variant, which normally retails for $200. Come here. It's a great card that has great performance for gaming as well as editing. I got this because I was looking through Craigslist and I noticed that someone was selling a bunch of their old graphics cards from their cryptocurrency mining rig. I snagged this off the guy for only $100, which is an insane price. Now, obviously, when it comes to buying used graphics cards for cryptocurrency mining, there is a little bit of a warning. You do take a risk when you buy some of these cards because if they weren't used properly, the lifespan of these things could be considerably shorter. Now, there are a bunch of methods used for testing used graphics cards that I'm not gonna cover here, but you can search those tutorials on YouTube. Now for you, if you're looking to get a used mining graphics card, which I highly recommend, I suggest you start looking through your local marketplace, which should consist of Craigslist, OfferUp, LetGo, or the Facebook Marketplace. A lot of those options are very successful for me, and if you live in a city, they should work for you as well. Now, if you live out in the country or a small town, you probably shouldn't be building a computer. I'm sorry, man. For our RAM, we're using 16 gigabytes clocked at 3000 megahertz of Corsair Vengeance RGB. This normally retails for $120. This is Enthusiast DDR4 RAM, which comes with the very mandatory RGB lights. I got this because it is higher frequency RAM, which Ryzen processors need to maximize their performance. I got this again through a Black Friday sale for only $100. However, since then, the market for RAM has actually gone down in price for consumers, so you should be able to get this for cheaper than I did. If I were you, I personally would recommend trying to buy RAM used. It is actually one of the safest parts to buy secondhand. I've never bought a pair of RAM sticks or RAM in general that ever did not work. Any of the local sites I mentioned before would be a great place to look, or you could try looking at the subreddit Hardware Swap to see if you can find anything there. For storage, we went for a 2 terabyte WD Black hard drive, which retails for $120. This is a regular computer hard drive, and the WD Black series are actually typically used for security camera footage because they're known for being very reliable. Unfortunately, that reliability comes at a higher price. However, you don't specifically need this 2 terabyte hard drive. As a matter of fact, you don't need a hard drive at all. The reason I got this is because this computer is actually going to my uncle who wants to edit videos on this system. So this is gonna be where all the videos and photos get stored. If you're just playing games, you don't need this. However, if you do want some extra space to store some stuff, go on eBay, search a 7200 RPM HDD, and ask your mom for a credit card. Buy the hard drive, not V-Bucks. I was actually able to get this through eBay myself for only $40 when I patiently waited for one of their 15% off sales that you guys should keep a lookout for too. This is an M.2 SSD, which has 250 gigabytes of holding space made by Crucial. This is the main drive that our system will be running off of, and it's where Windows will be installed. Sorry, Linux users. The reason we're getting an M.2 SSD is because if your motherboard supports it, it's actually really easy to install, and it uses less cables than a regular SSD would. And in case you don't already know, if you're running your games or installing your operating system onto an SSD rather than an HDD, your system's gonna work a lot faster. I was able to get this through $40 through an Amazon sale. However, like the RAM market, the SSD storage is also going down in price. So I think for 250 gigabytes of an M.2, you'll probably be able to find it for cheaper than I did. This is a Rosewell Capstone 650M, which normally retails for $65. It's got 650 watts of power and has an 80+ gold efficiency rating. You shouldn't be looking for this specific power supply because it's probably not going to be the cheapest best option for you, but at the time when I was looking for one, it was for me. I got this for only $30 because the price had dropped on it on top of an eBay 50% off sale was going on, like I touched on before. And lastly is our case, which is an EVGA DG77, which normally retails for $150. This is my favorite deal of the entire set. It's a pretty unique case in that it has glass panels on all sides as well as some LED lights. It also comes with one of my personal favorite features, the vertical GPU mount. Now this is normally not the case I would get because of how expensive it is, but it's up to you to determine how much you're wanting to pay for the visual of your system. The one thing I will say that this case has going for it that other cheaper options with similar features don't have is that it actually comes with the riser cable for the vertical GPU mount. The cheaper H500i does not have that. Price-wise, the NZXT H500i would probably still be a better option because you could get a riser cable for cheaper, but if you're lazy, sure, this is a good option. I got this because someone was selling it locally through the Facebook Marketplace for only $60. And the best part is that it's brand new. For you, since the case is the thing you're gonna be looking at all the time, I don't recommend buying a case locally if it is used because it's almost impossible to find something without little scratches or dents. And if you find those, they're gonna bug you. Now for you, the first thing you should do is find a case that you personally like the look of, and then use any of the resources I mentioned earlier to look for sales on that specific case when it pops up. All right, that was a lot of talking, but we finally covered everything we need to. Without any further ado, let's get into the build.
I'm like, woo-hoo, the one my heart has gone to me, not gone to wait. Eco, 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 tap. Eco, tick. Eco, 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 tap. Eco, tick. Eco, 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 tap. Eco, tick. Eco, eco, tap.
Oh man. Okay, everything looks good. I'm really excited because obviously when you buy anything secondhand, there is always a little bit of fear and risk that something's not going to work as it should, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Everything looks like it's working really well. Now, all that's left to do is install Windows, install the benchmarks, and then see how well this thing performs. All right, so everything is installed, and now it's time to see just how powerful this actually is. We are going to be benchmarking with Cinebench R15, Unigine Heaven, CSGO, and then finally we're going to be using Apex Legends. Let's see if this thing lives up to the $1,000 hype. Okay, so is this a $1,000 system? Yes and no. The reason I say yes is that this computer is pretty evenly balanced. Typically, nowadays when people build a computer, it is usually for gaming because of how popular it has become in the last few years. So a lot of times their budget is geared mainly towards the graphics card or any other components that will help accelerate its gaming performance, getting the maximum FPS possible in games. A lot of times what will end up happening in those systems is that they will have weaker processors, but over-the-top graphics cards. So while those computers will absolutely kill it in the gaming department, when it comes to something like content creation, it will lack a little bit. On the other hand, for example, if someone were to build an editing computer, then the processor and the RAM would be the most stressed parts for the budget. And you would definitely see less of an emphasis on the graphics card, assuming you're not doing something like 3D modeling or rendering. So as for this computer behind us, it actually falls right in the middle of that spectrum. This computer wouldn't be able to put out as many FPS as those gaming specialized computer, and it wouldn't be able to render as quickly as some of these professional editing systems would. However, Let's say that you're a person who is interested in both, potentially gaming as well as maybe editing some of that and turning it into a YouTube channel. That person would be more than happy with this system and they would find a nice equal balance, which we talked about in the beginning. $1,000 computer? I think so, but let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your opinions in the comments. All right, so I'm about to pack this thing up and mail it over to my uncle, but before I get going, I want to talk to you guys for a second about Squarespace. Squarespace is a website building platform and it is an all-in-one service. For those of you guys that don't know, it means that you can buy your website's domain name there, it has the server to host your website, and it has the tools to help you actually build it yourself. Now, why would that be relevant to you? Well, for those of you that actually watch this channel, you would understand that I give many tips on how to actually make money by buying and selling computer parts or building entire machines and then selling them as an entire system. If you wanted to turn that into a side business like I do, nothing would help make you seem a little bit more professional than an online presence. And honestly, Squarespace is a great place to go if you want it to look as professional as possible. And if you guys want 10% off, there is a link on screen that I'm gonna be showing right now, as well as a link in the description for you guys to use. So a big thank you to Squarespace and for you guys for watching this video. Check the link out below. I hope you found this video creative, entertaining, or informative in any way, shape, or form. And as always, have a great day.